Hey guys, Eric from Stochastic here. It looks like everybody is just about logged in, so I am thrilled to see you all here with us today, and I think we're about ready to get started. And this is great because this is a kickoff to a multi-part series. We're going to do a couple more on this topic of agreement customers. Today we're going to talk about seasonality. In the future, we're going to talk about when we get money from our agreement customers and what the value of those customers are over their lifetime. So is it more or less than a standard customer? And those are going to be great topics, but today we're going to cover the one I think is probably the most important because it's the one that really drives why we talk so much about agreement customers. So the basic premise behind agreement customers is simple. We have slow periods in the year. We can use our agreement customers to fill in those times, and we can do great work for those agreement customers to get money from them later. So, we can build a relationship with those customers, build value with those customers, and then further on down the line, we will either get additional money or the first big load of money from that customer. So that's the basis behind agreement customers, and I know I'm pushing it into a very small constraint, and I'm generalizing, but that's the basic idea behind agreement customers. So really, about 50%, you could say 33%, because you could also use them for training, and a lot of companies do. But 33% of the reason we have agreement customers is to help us through our shoulder months. And the reason we do that is because we all face kind of the same challenge, right? If you're in an area that has really no winter or really no summer, most of your peak season comes in one big shot, like you see on the screen here, where about 70% of your business is done. And then the other 30% of your business is done in your shoulder months. And it makes it difficult in those shoulder months to really turn a profit, make much money, and keep technicians around because you just don't have the revenue and you don't have the need for the technicians that you have to have during the peak seasons. If you're in a more Midwestern or northern climate, somewhere where you have a defined summer and a defined winter, you have more of a two-peak, two-valley system. You've just got a fall, a winter peak and then a fall. And you've got, of course, a spring peak and then a summer. So you have that same exact pattern. The only difference is now you have two peaks. So this isn't nearly as long a peak as it was on our two-season contractor, but our four-season contractor has these two peaks here. Again, I need more staff here, and I don't really need much here. But I lose money until I hit this line. It's kind of the general idea. I lose employees unless I have business to this level. During the fall, it's hard. I've come off summer. It's hard to keep technicians around if I can't hit this level of work. And the idea behind our agreement customers is I can take customers and slot them into those spots, customers that I get to pick when they want to do work with me, and I will put them in these areas to help fill in the slow times of the year. And it really doesn't matter what part of the country you're in. It's basically universal, right? A little bit less in California, a little bit more in Iowa. Everybody has this season. So no matter if you're north, south, east, or west, like you see on the screen here, just about everybody across the country has got this pattern or something very similar to it. And so we're all kind of fighting the same battle. How do I keep my technicians busy in the off season? How do I keep my money coming in the door and keep myself from losing money in those valleys, the peaks, the off-peak seasons? How do I keep enough technicians for that peak season? The problem is that whenever somebody presents me with a universal solution, I tend to think maybe there's an issue with it. And so I wanted to ask the question, Stochastic wanted to ask the question, do those agreement customers actually help get rid of the valleys? And the reason I ask this question is really simple. I have a lot of customers. Stochastic has a lot of customers, and we see a lot of data. And I never see anyone whose business is aligned. Everybody has peaks and valleys. Taken all the way back to my 1-hour days, I don't know how many meetings I sat through where owners, GMs, and technicians said, I just wish the year was a little bit more even. I wish there weren't these waves of business. It's so hard to be ready for all the business that comes knocking in a 30-day period and how little will come 60 days later. and it's hard to keep people happy, and it's hard to keep motivated, and it's hard not to lose money during those months. How do I make my business more even? And what I wanted to look at in this study was, do agreement customers, which have kind of been handed down as this universal truth, actually help fix the problem? So we put together a study across 21,241 households, 85,753 transactions, totaling $57,937,385. So this is a lot of money. It's a lot of households. And the reason we selected these groups is because the data we have from them all is the same time period. We have more data, and I can take this study further, but we wanted to compare apples to apples. So everybody in here, their data runs the same time frame. And it was a pretty simple thing to look at. First, we mapped out all of the households that people went to by month. So we could break it down, and we could look at the seasonality of the businesses in this group very easily. We can see here that the peak is in June and July to a slightly lesser extent, and they've got kind of a rise both in December and January. Our valleys are February and, to a lesser extent, October and November. So we can kind of see the flow of the year. And then it's really simple. All we have to do is then look at just the dates and times that agreement customers were run. And so we do the exact same graph you're seeing here, but just for agreement customers only. And what we see here is a little bit alarming. So as a solution to the problem of the peaks and valleys, I don't see that this happened as much of an answer. Households-wise, May, June, and July, the 3 busiest months of the year for our customers here, are the same 3 months that they did most of their agreement customer visits. In the months when they were the slowest, February, September, October, November, outside of October, they have relatively few jobs. They're relatively flat. It's not pumping anything up. So when we look at this, what we see is, at least household visit-wise, our agreement customers are following the same pattern as the weather. So scratching that, we said to ourselves, okay, maybe it's not working out from a job standpoint. You've got a lot of little jobs, and there's repairs and follow-ups, and you end up going to houses, for warranty work and things like that during the key months, during the, May, June, July. You're driven to those houses for another reason, but those jobs don't produce much revenue. And one of the other answers is, it's not necessarily just about the work, it's about the revenue, because if I've got the money coming in, if I'm selling installs, if I'm moving product in those shoulder months, then it's still easy to keep people employed, keep everybody happy, keep the technicians doing something. Because if I'm making money, I can afford to have guys push the broom around the shop to wait for peak. So we took a look at the same thing, only now from a dollar standpoint. So we looked at the seasonality of total sales, and again, you'll see it follows that same pattern. You've got your high peak leading into June, and then you got your fall off into July, and then basically from September to October, you're relatively flat. And we follow the same protocol here. All we're going to do is strip away all of our non-agreement customers, and what we find is that, again, dollar figure-wise, May, June, and July are the months you bring in most of the revenue from your agreement customers. And this strikes me as odd. The whole idea behind agreement customers is to take work out of this busy season and move it into my shoulder months. But even when we blew this up and looked at more companies across more areas and more time, what we never saw was that people did more work with their agreement customers in the shoulder months or in the valleys than they did in the peak season. And I think part of the reason is pretty simple. The peak season is when you also sell most of your agreements. So you sell agreements where the green arrows are, and then you decide to come back to those houses 6 months later, which is, again, where the green arrows are. And because you don't move the customers off of those months, you end up going back again and again and again. But you see, capacity is the number one killer. Time is the most valuable commodity you have. And when I'm talking about time, I'm talking about time in homes with new customers during peak season. There are only so many technician hours during these peak months. Whether you're a 4-season contractor or a 2-season contractor, you have a very small window of time. Again, these green arrows, this is when I've got a very limited time to be in these houses. And yet, when we study these, what we found, again, and as you just saw in the results, both dollars-wise and home visit-wise, these were also the peak times for club, for VIP, for agreement customer visits. Even though it's in the shoulder months where I fall well below the black line here. And that black line is capacity. That's where I'm starting to push guys into overtime. That's where I'm having to basically pick and choose jobs. But you're picking club members. And so this can be very damaging to your business if you're not prioritizing acquiring as many new customers as possible during those peak months. Those opportunities are then gone because someone else has already done that job. And so universally we saw, as when we looked at it from both an individual company standpoint, and I'm talking about every single company we looked at, grouping the companies like you saw here, or taking our entire database and looking at it, universally we found club members, agreement customers, VIP customers were run to the greatest extent for every company during the peak months. So what does your company look like? How many are you moving in? Because we got to have great conversations with our customers after we ran these numbers where we talked to them about moving those jobs out, about redoing their club process, about redoing their agreement process so they could move those customers off of the peak times and into the shoulder months when they really need the job. And I'd love to have that same conversation with you. So you can give me a call at 314-582-4995. That's 314-582-4995. Or email me at my email on the screen there. And I'd be happy to run this same report for you so you can see when you're running your club, your agreement, your VIP memberships. And I can talk to you about how we can move those out of your peak times and start to help you align them in the places that give you more opportunities during the peak months to do more business. And it'll also help you be more profitable in those times of the year when you tend to be slow. I appreciate you guys visiting with me today. Again, like I said, this is the beginning of a multi-part series on agreement customers. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or if you'd love me to run the report for you. Thank you for your time today.